Melissa Tubergen is a mom of 6 kids, bio and adopted, and a foster mom. She and her husband founded Give Hope RV, where foster and adoptive families are offered rest and connection through the avenue of camping. She's a Jesus lover, homeschool mama, a home hairstylist, and a runner, as well as a Diet Coke enthusiast. So, welcome, Melissa.
Glad to be here with you, Jen.
Well, that gives us a lot of information about you, actually.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit more about like where you grew up and maybe your favorite place to camp?
Sure. So I grew up in Southwest Michigan. Actually, the majority of my childhood was spent at the campground that hosts 2 of our RVs. My family managed that campground from the age of I was 6 until I was 16. So my childhood is camping, and so we haven't moved very far from there as we've grown our family and lived, and so we're about just not too far from Lake Michigan and just south of Holland here in the Southwest area. So, yeah.
Well, that's great. So camping was you didn't go camping. You lived camping.
We lived camping. Yeah. So there's a house there. And so that's where we lived. So we didn't do a lot of camping growing up, but had a lot of camping experience. This summer we took our kids camping up to the UP, and that was so fun. Very primitive camping. We just stayed at some state forests, and it was so wonderful. I've never done that before, but we look forward to doing it again next summer because we usually do glamping, which is what we offer all of our families through Give Hope. Which is very nice and very posh and very comfortable. But This is just very nice to unplug entirely and to just keep things really minimal. So that was a really fun thing for us to do.
Well, that's great. My daughter goes to school up in Marquette in the UP, and so we love it up there. It's beautiful.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk today kind of about mompreneurs in ministry. And let's kind of go back to the beginning with your story. So how did you meet your husband and how did you guys end up on this path of adoption?
So our meeting is kind of funny. We were set up on a blind date, and the girl I worked with happened to be his then business partner's wife. I'm 5'11", so kind of tall. And she was like, there's this great guy. I really want you to meet him. And I was like, great. Is he tall? And she's like, yes. And I was like, fantastic. This will be great. And we met, and he's not tall. Dave is shorter than I am. And what I didn't take into account is that she is very short. So everyone is tall to her. And so that's really how we met. We met in December and we're married in July. And so we were married very quickly. We had our first kiddo shortly thereafter and really just started the journey of parenthood and marriage within the year of meeting. And so we just kind of kept adding kids as the years went on. And that was just how we grew in our relationship too. We joke that we have 7 things in common. It's Abby, Faith, Eli, Olivia, Bo, and Gertie, and Jesus. Like that is all we have. And so I'm glad Jesus is in there. That's for sure. Because otherwise I don't think we'd be, well, I know we wouldn't be anywhere where we're at right now. And so that's about all we got. And so that was just really how we met, like where we landed, and then what brought us to adoption in general really was something we talked about our whole marriage, but we just kept having biological children. And so then people are already really like, at least in our area, like 4 was a lot of kids. And so they really think you're weird if you go for another or anything like that. And so we were like, no, we're good. And then you factor in the financial ramifications of adding another child, and then let alone adoption costs and expenses. And the church we were attending at the time it was ending a series on money. And the pastor that was there, he really just said, if you are putting off something that God has called you to do because of money, then you are missing out entirely on the blessing of Jesus, because he has great things in store when we choose to put our faith and trust in him versus our own financial security. And so we knew immediately that he was talking to us. We got in the car. I don't even think we were out of the parking lot. And Dave goes, so you're going to make that phone call tomorrow? And I said, you bet. And that was all we said. Like, we didn't even, I knew exactly what phone call he was talking about. So we called the local agency, had a meeting that very same week. She laid out the different styles of adoption for us, and really just knew God was calling us into international adoption for various different reasons. I think adoption, when you step into it, it's a very personal choice. Yeah. And it's different for everybody. And so you just have to follow God's leading. And for us, it was international adoption. We started in the Haiti program, and it got all of our paperwork there, did all the things that we needed to, sent it there, and we sat for well over a year due to some poor communication by our agency and some just changes within the system of that was Haiti adoption. And at that time, our caseworker said, well, you have the choice to either stick it out for an undetermined amount of time, or you could switch to the China program. And I was like, let's just switch, because we weren't feeling called to a specific place. We just said we were a home open to kids. And so we switched all of our paperwork. It got there in February, Groundhog's Day, so February 2. And we were open to either gender, which in China, most people think that it's girls that are very populous. And it's actually boys. There's 3 boys that wait to every 1 girl. And because we were open to a boy, she said, you will get matched very, very quickly. And we were matched April 15, tax day. I saw his sweet face come up on my computer, and I knew immediately. I said, we didn't really care either way. We already had given them like our ramifications of what we felt like our family could manage and medically. And I was like, I don't really care what's happening with this child. He's mine. And so we just sent our acceptance letter in, and then we traveled that July. So February, April, July. Brought him home August 4, my sister's birthday. And within 6 months, we were turned back around to start our paperwork to go back for our daughter, Gertie, who was not from the same place at all. We did not know anything about her, but we just knew that there was a great need for families, and really just felt the impression from the Lord to not wait. And because it's his timing, and adoption rules change all the time, especially international. And so we are so glad we did, because if we would have waited, we wouldn't have qualified, and we wouldn't have her. So she has Down syndrome and is just a huge blessing in our family. And that kind of wraps us up at 6 kids. So for now, at least.
For now.
Changes and brings others. I don't know. We just whatever at this point.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I love that you're like, for now.
I can't say we're done, because then the Lord will say, and you thought.
Well, that's what happened to us. We were done. And then boom, surprise adoption of 2 kids. So, but it changes things a lot. Surprised or planned, it changes things. So, well, one thing that many people may not realize is that starting a nonprofit is just like starting a for-profit business. They just have different rules when it comes to filing taxes, particularly, but they take the same amount of blood, sweat, and tears to start and maintain and, finance and all this stuff. So why don't you tell us the story behind Give Hope RV and how you started that?
Sure. So international adoption suggests that when you bring your kiddo home, because everything for them is so new, that you do a process called cocooning. And that really just is keeping their world really, really small and staying home. And that sounded like absolute torture to me. And I was like, not happening. I am a on-the-go kind of mama. I do not enjoy being home at all. So this last year has been a bit of a trip. And so I was like, no, this can't happen. My parents have a camper at the place where we grew up. And we just ended up going there because it was only less than 10 minutes from our house where we live now. And it gave our 4 bio kids the opportunity to still be kids.
Yeah.
And to go and do great, fun things all around. And the beautiful thing about camping is you can be around a lot of people, but nobody's paying attention to your people. And so you're still very much connected as a family, and nobody was pining for his attention. And so he still learned very much all about us, who we were, connecting with us, joining in with us. It was fun and engaging play for him because it's playground and all sorts of things that you can just be very focused on together. We'd get in the car and we'd say, we're going camping. And he would go, yay. And he knew the turns and he would be like, camping out the window. And so he just looked forward to it. It's just an avenue that we could unplug from the real world and just connect with each other, because we don't do tablets, we don't do TV, we don't do screens while we're camping. And so it really was just focused and intentional time. So that was the beginning of August. And by September, our kids had started going back to school, but we would still go out on the weekends. And he just blossomed so much in that 6 weeks. And Dave and I would go on walks as he was playing with his siblings. And it was all Dave's idea, actually. And I was the one that was like, nice thought, babe. And he just said, I think we should offer this to other people. I think we should look for a camper, and I think we should offer it to other people. And I kind of brushed it off because I knew what that meant is I was getting a lot of work.
Right.
And I was already feeling overwhelmed. And so it didn't take immediate feet to hit the ground on this idea, because then we were adopting Gertie, and then we were doing that kind of thing. And so come the summer of 2018, we really were more intentional about looking and seeing what was out there as far as a camper goes. We had acquired some additional funds through fundraising for Gertie's adoption it just kind of ended up being extra. We completely fundraised 100% of both of their international adoptions. And so we didn't feel like it was really our money, and we wanted to put it to good use. And so it gave us the opportunity to be able to, there was a camper that came up for sale in that campground. We had talked to the family about it, and they were asking more than we had, which is very common for that space. And we just said, okay, no problem. We'll just pray about it. And no, thanks for letting us look at it, kind of a thing. And we really just prayed over it and just prayed and thought, well, if this is where the Lord wants us to be, then they're going to have to bring the price down. And she called me like 3 or 4 weeks later and just said, we really got to get out of this. This is the bottom line that we can take it or leave it. And I was like, sold, because it was within a couple $100 of where we had prayed about, and just knew that we're like, a couple $100 is not worth
losing it or quibbling or yeah.
Like that. And so we put it out there, announced that this is what we were doing. We had talked to some family about it a little bit. And I mean, at this point we had 6 kids. We'd done 2 international adoptions, adopted a child with special needs. Bo has medical needs that has required several different surgeries. They're like, whatever, you guys are nuts and you're just going to do it anyway.
That's right.
And so we purchased it, and we really just put it out there and asked for donations, because our goal was to make it be a very stress-free stay time for our families. So we wanted to provide everything that we possibly could to make it be an easy thing for them to come and vacate to. Yeah. Essentially, we were given this opportunity by my parents, because they have given us for years a stress-free, fully provided for space camping. And because they have blessed that to our family, my sister's family, my brother's family for years leading up to it, and even still now, we have the opportunity to do that for other people. And so donations just started pouring in. It is a very well-stocked kitchen. We do all linen service for them. So we do blankets and linens, so people don't have to bring any bedding. Pillows are provided. Everything's there. And so we really just want families to have to pack food, clothes, toiletries, and towels. That's our main focus, just those 4 easy things at the bare minimum. If they want to pack bikes and all the other extras, they can. But if they're just like, we need to go and we're going to go easy, then those are the 4 things they really need to cover for their stay. And heck, you don't even have to bring towels if you can go 2 days without a shower. So, so that's something that we decided to do, and people just started sending stuff our way. We put together an Amazon wish list, but then also said nothing has to be new. It just has to be in good working order. And we would come home and see boxes and boxes in front of our door or bags of things that people in our area would just drop off. They're like, we just cleaned our linen closet. Here's all of our extra sheets and sizes that you needed, and that kind of thing. And the Lord just kept pouring in blessing over blessing. And so we started that summer in August 2018, and we had, I think it was, I actually have it written down, 16 families. Yeah, we served 16 families that season, just from August to mid-October. And so that kind of hit the ground running, gave us the opportunity to get things started. So,
oh, well, that's wonderful. And I know I've been to 2 of your locations, and so they're both wonderful and very different amenities. I mean, different experiences. But so, how many families approximately get to stay with Give Hope RV each summer?
Well, like you said, we now have more than 1 location. So that's happened this summer. This summer was our first summer with 3 locations, and that the addition of the 2 RVs is something only God can do altogether. He, at the end of 2020's camping season, there was a family that's local to us that said, we just want to give you our camper. We aren't campers anymore. We want to be boaters. And so we just love adoption. They are an adoptive family themselves. And we just want you to have it. Use it and bless families. And so that's how we acquired our second RV. And then our third RV is at the same campground as our first. And that one came up for sale in the spring. We had the opportunity to look at it, put a down payment on it, and it gave us 5 weeks to fundraise $10,600. And 10 days later, we got the keys because the Lord had brought it in. And it was just absolutely amazing to watch him just continue to bless and bless and bless. And so we went from having 1 RV for 2.5 summers, and now this year we have the 3 RVs. And that is just something that is only God could have done that. And so we just are so thankful for the opportunity to be able to serve 120 families in the 3 spaces that he has provided for us. So we're super thankful for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know that you don't do repeats in one summer. Like, I mean, that's 120 different families being served. That's amazing.
The beginning of this season, we had 358 families apply to stay with us this season from multiple states. So we're not just a West Michigan endeavor, though that's where we're located. We don't take just Michigan families, and we literally have used Facebook as a method of advertisement. And so we haven't tapped in really to many agencies or churches. I did my 3rd church visit this summer. We definitely want to do more, but there's already such a huge need for families to have a space to stay that we can't service. We can serve right now about 1/3 of the people that apply to stay.
Yeah.
They're just registered. It's really more of a registration process than an application that register to stay. And so we haven't put a ton of work into getting a lot of advertisement out there because we want to be able to serve more families. But I guess we need to up our advertising game, so hopefully we can get more spaces to serve more people. So
It's a tricky balance
it is.
because I mean, word of mouth has spread. I mean, I didn't find you on Facebook until well after I was told about you and that we should
Okay.
apply. But so people are talking. I used to help run a food pantry, and we discovered that we did not have to advertise our services. That went like wildfire. People came to us. It was that other side of fundraising and relationship building with donors that we didn't have a lot of time for because we're serving people, but
Yep.
that's where we needed to really get out and grow, and because if we didn't have the money coming in, we couldn't serve the people, and it becomes this tricky balance.
Yeah, and that's I think where we're finding ourselves now, knowing that people will hear about us. So now we're like
Yes.
shifting gears to continue to love on these families that come, but also to shift and make relationship and to pour into the people that have already been participatory
Yes.
into the ministry, to just thank them and to be so appreciative of the work that they're doing, because we have so many volunteers that come up alongside of us to help do laundry turnaround service, that literally just pair up with families and just pray for them. And then it's the families that and businesses that choose to donate and to step in that way, and just want them to know how thankful we are for them. And so working with our board to make that happen a little bit better and to turn our focus in that capacity, because we know God's going to bring the people. We don't question that.
Yeah. Well, and that's my hope from this podcast, is that people will hear, and if they need to come for the respite and that they'll apply and get into that system. But that really, we see all of these adoption fundraisers, and they're important and they're good to participate in, but sometimes you want to help at a higher level where you help more people. And this is one of those ways where you can say, I'm gonna donate to Give Hope RV because I'm gonna impact 120 adoptive families and not just one. And so this is just a different way to serve and know that you're impacting more people through the process. So my hope is that, as people hear about that side, that they will want to be part of the supporting of Give Hope RV.
Well, I appreciate that so much. And I think that really is where we're at, like in just looking at things and wanting people just to see that not everybody can adopt, not everybody's going to foster, but the support network needs to be there for families that do. And we're looking to be one avenue of that. So not everybody's going to start a nonprofit either, or a ministry or something to like help them in that capacity, but they can come up alongside of, and that is them offering foster care and adoptive care. You don't have to be a foster parent or an adoptive parent, but you can offer the care that foster and adoptive families need. And this is one avenue that they can do that through. And we had a donor volunteer appreciation dinner last week. And we had a couple of families that spoke at it that just expressed their thanks to their volunteers and the donors. And one of the families that spoke, they had the opportunity, like you, stay twice. And we actually have a personal connection with them. We traveled when they traveled to get when we got Gertie, they got their son. We traveled together. And so they just explained, though, that through their very first stay, which came about a year after we brought our kids home, that all of their extended support had dwindled. There wasn't really anybody around that was still giving them constant support. And they're like, this opportunity enveloped us in support. And the people that step in and pray or do laundry or have donated money, you were a part of that, enveloping us into feeling like we have hope and we know that we're going to be okay. Their adoption looked very different than ours with Gertie. It's been a very trying experience. They have been amazing, and I'm so proud of them for just sticking with it.
Yeah.
And things are going very well now. But it was very difficult that first year, 2 years. And they just said, the fact that you were here and offered us the opportunity to connect and be with our kids, we couldn't have done it otherwise.
Yes.
But I think even just looking at the cost of adoption, like you pour all of your resources into that. They did like we couldn't have gotten away. We couldn't have afforded it. We had to pay. We were paying off these different adoption expenses and that kind of thing. And so we could have never gotten away. And this provided them an opportunity to step away.
Yeah.
And be together with their boys. So
yes. So people register, but how do you decide who actually gets to stay? Because you said 360 registrations and 120 spaces.
Yeah. Everything goes into a lottery. And so your registration does provide us with some information, but your information doesn't put you on a higher level than somebody else. Just like you've stayed twice and the other families have stayed twice, that doesn't discount you for staying another time. People that have had to cancel for various reasons, that doesn't discount them for staying another time. But it does give us the opportunity just to kind of throw everyone in a hat and pull it out and just put everybody on equal playing field. So whether you register the very first day or you register the very last day that we have registration open, then you have the opportunity to be at the same level. And so that's kind of really how we've handled it so far. Because we have 3 spaces now, we have the opportunity to offer more emergency care spaces that we've allotted for this season. We allotted 1 time in each month. We only needed to utilize 2 of those times. And then we never left the spaces empty. We would just put them up for grabs and say that they were open.
Okay.
And it's a first come, first serve reply on our email list. And so that's really how we've filled it so far. All 4 seasons has just been lottery style and people registered to stay. And I think that's probably what we'll continue doing this coming season, just because it seems to be the most efficient to not like put some over another or people to feel left out or overlooked. And we would love to serve the people that have been registering for 4 years.
I haven't gotten, I know.
But it's hard to know like who those people are even because they all just go in a hat. So,
well, and it's hard. I mean, what this does is this really is saying, okay, God, you need to provide the names as I pull them out, the right people, because it is really hard to, judge and compare a situation unless you're in it. I mean, it can look like they don't really need it, but they might need it way more than the person who you think needs it. And this way you're not making
really good writers and some people are not really good writers.
Right.
And some people can give a really good story, but just because they want the experience, but they don't have a need. And so we didn't want any of that. We just wanted, here you are.
We've often said the best missionaries are the worst fundraisers and the best fundraisers can be the worst missionaries. And, that's kind of what you're saying,
Yeah. And our emergency spaces get filled. They have to be referred to us by either an agency, outlying ministry, or a church. And so it can't be somebody that says, well, we've tried for 4 years. I have an emergency, but that way we know that they're being connected and cared for as well alongside of our care that we can offer them, but that they have a church that they're connected with or another ministry or an agency that they're walking alongside of as well.
Okay. So that's the only spot that really has a criteria as the emergency ones. And I can tell you, I see your emails come through and you're like, I have an opening, and like 42 seconds later, filled, like you can barely breathe.
I know. We've gotten a few replies from people that are like, how does it go so fast? I'm like, I don't know. It's usually within 60 seconds. It's gone. Right. And so, the Lord fills it, that's for sure, and the right people get in.
Well, you've got 3 spots. I know you would love more. I think you've told me your dream would be to just have a dedicated campground for all of this. But, it's not as simple as somebody donating another camper because you need the location. You need all the amenities for it. There's maintenance. There's all those costs. So how much does it cost to operate one RV each year, roughly?
Just to keep it baseline running, we estimate it to be about $5,000 per space. Okay. And that covers lot rent, electrical costs, propane, and that kind of thing. It does vary a little bit based on location. So it just kind of wiggles out to be about $5,000 per location. And so we provide all the disposables that people would need, such as trash bags, napkins, paper towel, toilet paper, dish soap, like a kitchen scrubbing sponge. They get a new one. So those kinds of things we do ask for donation based. We've had organizations that have picked that up and then taken care of the whole season or something like that each year. So if that wasn't taken care of, the cost would be more. But right now it's about $5,000, and that I can see the cost rising here soon. Campgrounds are becoming more expensive to have a seasonal space at.
It's more demand. Yes. Yeah. So the irony of starting a ministry that offers rest is that it's a lot of work. So what was the hardest thing that you faced when it came to sort of integrating this ministry with your home and family so that it didn't consume you guys and tip that scale to running you ragged, you know?
Yeah, I think part of it is just understanding that some of it is a lot of ebb and flow. So beginning of the season, springtime is ultimately going to be really, really busy because you're getting things all set up. You're de-winterizing all of your spaces. You're setting up volunteers. You're setting up people to come and stay. And so much of it, I still feel like, is a huge learning curve. For us, as we grow, there's just a lot of growing pains that come along with it, which are good. And it's good for us to learn even more accessible resources that are available to us. And we're even exploring that for this coming year based on how long it took me to connect with well over 120 families to get them their spaces to stay, simply because, I mean, you make a call and then when you get towards the end of the line, there's not as many spaces available. So you just have to call people to fill your spaces as you go and see what's available for them. But I think one thing we've always done with our kids is we've involved them in the work that we do. We don't exclude them from it. And so instead of making space for, this is my time to work on Give Hope and this is my time to be with my family, so often it's, we are a family that ministers. And so we go together and we do this together so that we can spend time with our kids, but so that they can create and cultivate within them a mission mindset so that they can learn to serve and love people well. And that it's just what we do in life. It's how we do life together. And then there has been the times where I've had to allocate specific time to do specific things. And so making space in my calendar to have time to welcome the families at the locations when we, every Monday and every Friday. So making that space and then choosing to not, as best I can, schedule other things in that time. And so it just really gives us the opportunity, me, to focus on what I need to do as we welcome people and stuff like that. But our kids all help very much. And there's been many times where I've sent a kid, our oldest, out to say, okay, you're on for welcoming families tonight because mama's got to be a mama. And so she'll go, okay, that's not really her thing.
But she'll do it.
But it grows her and it changes her and it puts her in a new environment, which is so good. It's such a great way to just grow personally, is when you're stretched and pulled outside of your comfort zone. And so it's really been a good thing for all of our family.
Yeah. And what a safe way to do that. I mean, if she's around the space, she's part of it. You're not throwing her to the wolves. You're just going, go a little further. You can do this. Yeah. So, well, good. Well, for the mompreneur who's listening, who's kind of going, I want to do something, but I don't know that I want to start a business, but this nonprofit, this ministry idea is really resonating. What is one simple step she could take to kind of move forward to explore that or move towards making that happen?
Sure. So I would say, if you've never involved yourself, and if you're like, I think this is what I'd like to do, I would start by coming up alongside of something that's pre-existing that shares your passion in your heart, and see what they're offering. See how you can step in and help, and maybe alleviate some of the burden from somebody who's already doing all the work or the majority of the work. I do a collaborative with several other women that are working avenues that support foster and adoptive care. And all of them are women that are unpaid for the work that they do. All of us are. And we just choose to spend a fair amount of our week investing in and pouring into other families that need it. And I'm so thankful for their example. And so I know there's a lot of opportunities out there that women and people would welcome somebody to come in alongside of it. Maybe though you're looking at going and saying, this is what I feel like I have to offer, and there's nothing like this out there. Because the women I connect with, none of us cover the same thing. Okay. And so we all do very different parts that offer care, support, and that kind of thing for foster and adoptive families. And so it just could be, you have that opportunity. So I would connect with just a couple people and see if they'd be willing to help you. Maybe you do attend a local church and see if your church is willing to help you at all in supporting you. And sometimes you just have to say, we're doing it. And that's exactly what we did, is we just said, we're doing it. Here we go. We feel like the Lord has led us in this direction. That is one of the things that in our family and in our married life, my husband and I have just said, we have open hands, Lord. We want you to use us in whichever way you want, which is so scary to live your life in that way, because there's so many days I just feel very maxed out and like I cannot add another one thing. But I know that in his timing, he will make all things right, and he will have us be involved in exactly what he needs us to be involved in. And so I think sometimes we just have to make that big leap and say, you've laid this on my heart. Yeah. Here I go. And ask for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. We had no clue. We didn't become an official nonprofit until August of 2020. Okay. So that we just kind of did it all on our own, and people still donated to allow us to be able to keep things going. They weren't looking for a tax deduction. And so they were just loved the ministry. They loved our heart, and they just wanted to support it. And so you don't have to be an official nonprofit for people to come up alongside of you and give you more. Even the family that donated the camper, they didn't even know that we were a nonprofit at the time. They were not in it for the tax deduction. They literally were just in it to be a blessing. They're like, oh, you are? Oh, great perk. You know, it wasn't like, you are a ministry, please. Then we'll give it to you. They just wanted to serve the Lord. And I think that that's when you can find people that just want to serve the Lord and want to minister to him and to be his hands and feet. Those are your people.
Yeah. Well, and two things I heard you say, you didn't explicitly say them, but one is you were very clear with what you're doing. You're not serving the adoption community. You're offering, this slice of it. So you had clarity in what your specific piece of it was, but the other was you just did it. You served 16 families that first time, which when you compared to the 120 doesn't seem like very many, but that was your start. And you've grown. You didn't start out going, we're going to serve 150 families this summer and go that way. You just started. So, I love that. I took your business card that you've put in the binder and I got a magnet for the back. So we've got the magnet on our fridge to look at. So we can think of it all the time. Well, this has been a great conversation. And, one of the things that I ask every guest, because I'm a gadget girl, if there's a tool, a gadget, something that is going to make life simpler, I am all about it. So I love to find out, what is your favorite time-saving gadget, system, or tool?
So it's really simple, but I would say Post-it notes. I love a good Post-it. I am a mama that takes it, and because we have all the kids like you, I'll just set out 6 and I put their name at the top, and then I find 2 or 3 things that they can do that day that need to get done. And so then it's just the easy, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then they just rip it off and then throw it away when they're done. Or it gives me the opportunity to do the same thing. So I'll make sticky notes that say, give hope, family, tend to dabble my hands in a lot of different things. And
Yeah.
so whatever my hand is at that moment, so I'll make different stickies for that. And so, and then just jot down the things I need to get done in that day. Some of mine have moved into being an actual notebook versus a sticky.
Okay. Yes.
Because
Yes.
there's
Because you're
just
like, I
so
do this
many
every
things.
day. Yeah. Or it's got 12 steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so moving that, but it just has become a very easy system. I'm not a very complicated person. Actually, I was just talking to my sister today. I was like, I'm not very organized and I need to be a little more organized.
Mm.
And so that's not God's gifting to me.
Well, that's why you ask for help, right?
Yes.
Oh, well, Melissa, how can people connect with you and Give Hope RV and maybe even get on your email list?
Sure. So I would say just go to our website, givehoperv.com. And there is going to be plenty of ways for you to register to help, donate, offer supplies or anything like that, and join our email list. Or you can email us directly at givehoperv@gmail.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. This has been great.
Thanks for having me, Jen.